Over the weekend, you guys probably caught it alongside with me, but there were some viral clips coming out of Miami of the Rat Pack, the woke rights, group of degenerates, in my personal opinion, Sneeko, the Tate brothers, Clavicular, Myron Gaines, like a whole bunch of other people, and they were partying. Nick Fuentes, that I mentioned, Nick Fuentes, they were partying together, and I thought, wow, is this an organic thing that's happening here? Is this organic? Did they really all say, let's all hang out in Miami? Or is there like a bigger agenda going on? Well, I think there's a bigger agenda, but that's not what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about an ancient pagan ritual that was performed that is very reminiscent to what these guys promote. Okay. And I don't think a lot of people are talking about this, to be honest with you, but who was it? I think it was King Solomon who said that history, everything is not, there's nothing new. History literally repeats itself. And I think I'm going to drive that point here. Now, let me just show you this clip here. This is Myron Gaines. If you guys don't know who Myron Gaines is, he is the host of the Fresh and Fit podcast. And I would say that his main ideology of his podcast is sexual perversion. Is pretty much what it is. He doesn't have a family. He doesn't even have a girlfriend. I think he had like a recent girlfriend who was with him for like a couple weeks. But and I say this also with empathy that I think this guy is not living a fulfilled, purposeful life. I think that he's searching for things that'll fulfill his, I don't know, lusts, which is, if you're thinking about the world, it's just going to be one thing after the other. But anyway, I think that this guy is truly, I don't think he's living a pretty fulfilled life. He expresses this advice on his podcast for young men, for men alike, for being promiscuous. He promotes that. He promotes being of this corroded sexual degeneracy. And the guy that he's sitting right next to is Andrew Tate. And you guys already probably know the story on Andrew Tate. Now, okay, I'm going to just let you hear what this guy has to say about the girls in the background and take note of the the girls in the background as well.
Right? And then those back there and a bunch of other girls. She'll curve you to sit in a room with us and now you get fucking attention paid for it. Don't forget that. A lot of these girls right now probably have 1,000 DMs, Sims, all through this much money, I'll do that, blah, blah, blah. They've been ignored the whole time. And they're still sitting here for hours. That should red pill every single one of you guys to let you guys understand that women only really respect a few things. And it's not you DMing them trying to offer them the world. A lot of these girls, simps running all over them, all over that place, and they're just sitting here chilling, getting no attention paid to them because they're just here. No cameras, no nothing, just now. But I want everyone to like take that in, like, bro.
Now, in my personal opinion, I personally don't think that these girls are suffering. I think that these girls are just fine. He's saying like, notice that we're just ignoring them. They beg us to be here, whatever he said, and we're just ignoring them. Like this is what Myron is saying, whilst sitting right next to Andrew Tate, almost cheek to cheek. You know what I mean? Bragging about, devaluing, degrading, and ignoring girls. One of his buddies, what is his name? Justin Waller or something like that. There was another clip of him saying similar things to this young guy. His name is Clavicular. I just learned of this new influencer. I guess he's a younger one. Bragging that he takes the girls out to dinner and what he does is he just ignores them. And it's just like what man thinks that that's fun? You know what I mean? So anyway, the degeneracy of relationships, of interaction, of sexual, of sexual relationships. These guys, they do a pretty good job at corroding all of that. Now, the next clip I'm going to show you is, at face value, it's pretty, I don't know, benign. But given that this is Tristan Tate, this is the brother of Andrew Tate, who both are indicted and they are accused of human T wording, including a minor. And with that being said, I would say that this clip right here, him, a geriatric aged man, asking a 19 I think clavicular is 19, to rate women on this app, you know, I just think like that adds to the sexual perversion, because of not just in general. I think it's human nature. I don't even rail against people who have preferences in looks. I'm just saying, like, this guy, it's a little different because of the nature of what he's being accused of and his reputation being laundered through influencers like we've seen in the past. Being sanitized by this 19-year-old guy, asking him to just do something that seems normal, but I think, coming from him, it's just like his reputation is being sanitized. Once again, he is being accused of some of the most heinous things. The evidence even extrapolated from his device. Him, asking one of his workers to commit domestic violence against one of the alleged victims. You know what I mean? So I think that just sanitizes what he it makes it less lessened of what he actually is, in my personal opinion. Now, in this next clip, I stripped away the music because I don't want to get a copyright strike. But basically, what you're seeing here is Myron Gaines, a guy who was bragging ever so flamboyantly about ignoring women. He's instructing Clavicular, the young guy here, to tell one of the girls that is in their section that if she's not willing to go to bed with him, that she basically has to get out. Now, here's the thing. You know what I mean? Like, I know that jerks and D-bags like this have existed throughout time. However, what I will say is Myron, once again, has had a corroded, perverse ideology every single time I've seen him on air, every single time I've seen a clip of him go viral on the internet. And so it's just the ideology, the sexual perversion is what's trying to get sanitized, is what is attempted to get sanitized through these podcasts and podcasters. And that's where I see the because if you can weaken the minds of men, you can weaken their habits. I mean, you can get them into bad habits and things like this. Now, what I wanted to talk about is the ritual that I prefaced at the very beginning, the ancient pagan ritual that it seems reminiscent to. Now, again, this pagan culture, it's just flippant. It's do what thy wilt. It's just like the Satan mantra. Do what thy wilt. And back then, there were the Asherah poles, that were devoted to the goddess Asherah or Astarte, the consort to Baal. If you guys don't know who Baal is an ancient demon god that the Canaanites would worship by, sacrificing their little babies to, burning them. And this was very very radical worship, very radical worship. So anyway, the consort to Baal is Astarte, Asherah, and she is thought to be the goddess of fertility. Now, in order to worship the goddess of fertility, one thing that people would do, the Canaanites would do, it is thought that they would do, is to have sexual relations with each other at the Asherah poles, to worship this goddess. Another example is and this is just an example that God hated the Canaanite worship, and so he instructed Hezekiah to cut down all the Asherah poles. Now, the temple of Aphrodite in Corinth. This was a temple where temple prostitutes, they were paid to do the sexual deed with them, and that was counted as an act of worship. Now, why does all of this matter in the context of what we're seeing today with these perverse podcasters that are giving out sexually deviant advice out to men? Because this proliferates this ideology that it is okay to be flippant and perverse as possible with sex, and that you can do whatever you want and have no parameters or morals or anchored morals in regards to this particular subject. And what that does is it brings on a reprobate mind. You think of sex and people in relationships in such a way that is not based in reality, and it corrodes it. And they're being led astray into this ideology where they're not going to be led to a purposeful life. What was once aspired to have a family and to have a life worth living with purpose. These guys are being led astray with the time that they have to have perverse sexual relations as the pagans did, as they performed rituals so flippantly with multiple partners all the time. And they would do this in an act of worship. And I see the same sort of parallel things going on today, where this is an act of worship. This is an act of worship of the, the affluent image that they have of themselves, with the cars and the expensive clothes and the money and the things, you know what I mean? And this is literally what their podcast is built on. It's built on this ideology that you should go get money and you should just have flippant sexual relationships with many multiple women and live your life that way. And in a way, when you think about it, this is what the pagans, the Canaanites, would do to obtain things like harvest, things like fertility. They would do these acts in order to worship these demon gods to get the materialistic things of life. So anyway, a lot of people are not looking at this that way. I thought that that was an interesting aspect to present to you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I will catch you in the next video. Bye-bye.